Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lunch and Learn today. I'm Jeremy, your host for the day, and I will gladly walk you through anything that we have questions on. I'm going to go over some of the usual stuff, but if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the Q&A, and I'd be happy to discuss whatever we need to. In the meantime, got a couple things to check out. If you are curious about anything that we have in Decisions, check out our Decisions YouTube channel, Decisions-Training. It's where we put all of our lunch and learns, but it's also where we put up other different types of video content, a lot of cool different things here and there. So if you're curious about something or maybe even have suggestions or whatever, definitely let us know and check out our YouTube channel. Uh, we have the solutions marketplace, marketplace.decisions.com. Great place to check out various accelerators and other things that you can install into your decisions instance, import, and then play around with. Some pretty cool tools that some people just like to use for themselves, or maybe give them inspiration or build off of for the projects that they want to use in different ways. So definitely check those out. And then we also have our events. So decisions.com/events has all of our upcoming events, the main ones being the bi-weekly roadmap reviews. So if you're curious about things that are coming up in decisions, you can check that out. And we also do have other webinars and things if you are interested in other kind of concepts. Usually we have like one webinar a month, sometimes more depending on what's going on. There's definitely one later on in August. So if you're curious about that, check out decisions.com/events. And then finally, we have our Submerse coming up in August. So if you're interested, or if you know someone who's interested, then come uh, check that out. So if you're curious, in August, we have our next Submerse event. All right. Well, with that in mind, we're starting to get some questions in the Q&A. So I'm going to flip over to my decisions instance and I'll start answering some of our questions. All right. First question, I'll allow Natalia, you can talk if you have anything to add, but I think this is going to be a pretty easy one. What is the best way to remove duplicates from a list of objects? Um, no, there is a distinct. This is specific to strings, though. Oh, great. It's gonna give me some problems. There is a distinct list of strings step. This is specific to strings, so obviously not like all objects, but this is something that will work with strings, and depending on what you're working with, you might be able to utilize some aspects there to get some element of it. So I know, some things may have or include some strings, and so you might be able to use that in some ways. There might also be, I'm not familiar with this stuff. Well, of course,
So,
decisions is gonna
what
be one of
about
them.
the object, complex objects?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm about to test right now. Of course, decisions decide to load weird for me. Let's see here. I don't know what this specifically is. I guess it's this, that's distinct values. I've never used this step, but this looks like a variation of a fetch entities that would allow you to fetch distinct items. Give me 1 second here. I don't know why this is causing me problems today. This was working 5 minutes ago.
I've seen that fetch this thing, but what if you have your list in a flow?
Right. Yeah. So distinct list of strings is obviously only strings. Fetching the distinct would obviously work if you can fetch it from your database or something. If you have something in your flow, it would probably be some variation of one of our filter steps. Share the screen back. Um, maybe. Um, I'm guessing you'd have to build out the logic, or I don't know if there's any one step that would explicitly let you do this, because this is going to be based off of like a field name. And that would have to follow the normal rules. Um, I don't think for just objects in general, I don't think we have any just like base step. So I guess you would have to just kind of work on building out the logic itself. I mean, you might be able to pull like an aspect of the object and use get distinct list of strings to like check like the name of the object or something, and then from there filter that list and say like, right, because you could use like the filter like this with in combination with like criteria of, let me grab something, not that. Because you have like in list or something like that. And then you can say you might be able to utilize like the distinct list of strings to get the name of the objects or some aspect of the objects, and then run it through a filter to check if it has like a combination of these items. That might try to think of an alternative here.
Right, but if I, for example, if I have couple objects like one, one, and two, so I'm gonna need to remove one of the ones,
Right,
right? And if I get distinct, I will get one and two. And
right,
then if I filter that, I will remove both ones, right?
right. Trying to think of the best. Hmm. Wonder. I don't know. I think I might have to take a closer look at this or explore. Maybe someone else then has an idea of the best way to do this. The only things I'm coming up with, there's obviously like the two easiest ways are if you have something in a database or if it's just simply a string. Outside of that, you'd have to build the logic yourself or take the data that you have, put it into the database so that you could fetch it with this step. Outside of that, it would just be working on the actual like full logic, and I feel like that shouldn't be too difficult to have a step, I guess, that could do that. I don't think we
Uh,
have one yet.
my idea was just to create like a new list and then like an empty one, and then for each my list, and then one by one add to a new list, and then check if that item is in the list, in the new list. If it is in the list, then just skip.
Yes. Yeah, I was looking to see if we had anything else. I think that really is the best option. Obviously, if you want to increase performance or something, you'd have to do some kind of like doing that loop with a um like run flows for lists or something. If that's like a very, very large list that you need to work through. Um,
Yeah, I don't worry
but
about that because that's gonna be not a big list. So
yeah, if
probably
that's the
maybe like
case,
20
then
items, maybe.
yeah, if that's the case, then I think what you're talking about for each it into a new list.
Hmm.
Um, just to check and have a rule in here to just check and see if the previous item equals. Um, I'll just put a string equals here just for uh, easy purposes. But yeah, like go through your lists, throw it into string equals, check if it ex or it not in equals. Sorry, you would want in list. Right? String or object, wherever custom rule if you need to be. But obviously to check if that object is already in your list. If it's already in your list, then skip it. If it's not in your list, then add the item and continue through like that. Yeah, I think the way you described that, that's probably the best way to do it. I don't think there's a single step that does it unless it's the basic already in a data structure or as a string. Um, then we have easy steps for that. But I think that's your best bet here.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm. All right. Got a few other questions. So let me go to the next one. Next question is from Patty. I'll let you talk if you have anything to add, but I will go ahead and um,
Hi. Hello. Hello,
all right.
Jeremy.
Yep.
How
Want me
are
to
you
read your question
doing?
out loud? Good. How are you?
I'm good.
All right. Let me
Yeah,
read the question
I
for
have the
everyone.
question posted. I have two
Yep.
questions.
Two questions. Yeah.
Uh,
I'll start
yeah.
with the first one and then we can go on from there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
first question, I have two advanced data grids. I want to show one at a time depending on the checkbox, new checked or unchecked. If I had a show and hide follow create or flow created, but have a hard time placing the two data grids in the same place. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the form space is kind of limited,
Mm-hmm.
I want to use the same space to show the different one and switch based on the condition.
What version are you working in?
I'm on 903, 9, yeah, something. Okay, where I can find my version anyway.
Uh, the little
In
icon of the
admin,
person up in the top right corner, and you go to about. It'll tell you what version you're in.
top right corner.
Yeah, top right corner, the little like icon of the person. You click
Yep.
on that, and then
Okay.
you click on about. See
About.
your version.
Okay. So yeah, I'm on the 9.3.07
Okay.
something. Yeah.
Okay. So the idea here is you have two things. I'm just going to use a text box as um, just the. It's less about the advanced data grid and more about the the form controls themselves shifting. So the idea
Okay.
is you have two things side to side, right? And if you
Uh-huh.
hide one, this appears on the left. And then if you
Uh-huh.
hide this one's appearing on the right, but you want them both to be in the same position for
Yeah.
whichever
Yeah.
one is hiding. Okay.
Yeah.
So your best bet for that is going to be among the layouts. Um,
Mm.
so the key thing here is with a vertical stack or a horizontal stack,
Uh-huh.
the these two layouts actually allow everything to slide into place. Um,
Okay.
Either vertical, it'll slides automatically to the top of that stack in place where it
Uh-huh.
is, and then
Uh-huh.
horizontal is horizontal, obviously it'll slide to the left.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if you have your two items, so if I were to clear these two things, when I'm editing, if I put any two items in here, I put text box 1. I'll call this text box 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have another text box in here, and I call this text box 2.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see right here, visually for me, they're appearing just above each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I add my active form flow, so we'll throw a little checkbox up here. With some data in here, and then let's make an active form flow real quick for this.
Yeah, my active form flow works. It just because my is I have the data source come from different report, and the report itself has more columns, rows.
Right.
So I need the space. So
Yes, let me show you. Okay. So based on my checkbox, we're gonna hide show stuff. I forgot they're all in the favorites now. Okay. So if it's false, we want to hide text box 2. Missed the line. Okay. If it's true, we want to hide text box 1. And then we also want the show control ones. Two of those. And then I want to show text box 1. This is hide text box 2. Yeah, hide text box 2, show text box 1. This one's hide text box 1, show text box 2. Okay. So just basic true or false, show and hide. Obviously, and obviously your idea is showing and hiding the advanced data grid. That shouldn't change that aspect of it. But the key here is since these are in the
stack layout.
I'm actually even just going to slide my stack all the way up against the checkbox. So you can see it should be right underneath the checkbox here.
Okay.
And so it doesn't really matter where it is, but it's where that layout exists. So if I put this into a flow, let me just clear these out, and I'll throw my form here. Pick existing. Okay. And so I open this up. I forgot to have this run at startup, but the idea is if I have this marked as true, it hides it, and text box 2 slides right to the top, and then I undo it. Text box 1 is in the same position, sliding up to the top.
I
So
do have
that's
a
the key.
Default one. Show up and then switch. Okay.
Yes. So if you use just like the regular grid, they're locked into place. So what you're going to want is to use one of those layouts, vertical stack or horizontal stack. Place it in the grid where you want it so that you can at least have exactly where you need, and you don't have to worry about the other items. And those all can be wherever you need them as well. But then just where your advanced data grid is, in the designer, it'll look like you have two advanced data grids, but if only one is ever showing at a time, then you'll also have only those individual items showing at a time.
I see.
And then just as a future note, if you ever do end up upgrading, we do have the flex layout. This is not until 9.13. It has the same functionality, but a lot more configuration options for how things are organized. So that may also be useful, but that's till 9.13. So you'd have to upgrade to get there.
I'm going to talk to our director, IT director, see when we're going to upgrade. I see a lot of flex. I mean, in terms of formatting, it's much easier with the version you guys use. So on the same token, because my data grid it's come from a report, the data source, it has multiple columns. In terms of showing all of them, is it flexible right now? I just cannot show all of them. A user has to use the scroll bar to see everything, the formatting of the sheet or the form, overall, can I make it a wider, like a portrait landscape kind of thing?
Yeah, the flex layout definitely adds quite a few elements. I don't have anything already pre-configured easily, but this
Uh-huh.
is the closest I did just for lunch and learn earlier this week.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
as a very quick demo
yeah,
of it.
yeah.
But the idea here is depending on how you shift this, it can shift the
Mm-hmm,
boxes into place depending on the size. Instead of
mm-hmm.
forcing all of these to shrink really, really small or
Yeah.
forcing a scroll bar, in a lot of cases, it
Mm-hmm,
can make them flexible to
mm-hmm,
fit in place. So that's what it does. And
mm-hmm.
there's more settings that you could do to really configure how exactly you want them to shift. Where you can make sure that these two are always at the top and the number box shifts down, or different things like that that you can configure in it. So it's
Okay,
definitely
let
very
me
unique.
understand. Yeah, this is on the form run on the fly. The end user can drag it, right?
It's a yeah, so it's on this. It's a type of layout, but the
Yeah.
idea here with this layout is you can change how the layout is, like the height of the layout, if
Uh-huh.
you want it to be
Yeah.
fixed, if you want it to be
Uh-huh.
flexible, so that
Uh-huh.
depending on the size that this is, it
Uh-huh.
has like minimum, maximum heights and different things. So even
Okay.
on like other devices or other things, it can
Uh-huh.
actually like shift easily and
Okay.
helps you to
Okay.
like organize how it looks, whether it's a really small form or a really large form.
Okay. Okay.
So
Looks
then there's a
good.
lot of other
Yeah.
configurations for it that, if
Uh-huh.
you do end up upgrading, you can obviously play around with to get what you're looking for.
Okay.
Okay.
So my next question is formatting as well. So in my
Yes.
form, I have two header containers.
Hmm.
I found one of them is flexible. I can use the expand, use the arrow key up and down, can expand and shrink, and all my rows will be based on that place to kind of a shrink with it.
Hmm.
But the second one, I'm not sure. I don't have the option for, expand or shrink. So I don't know.
So on a header container, anytime you have a
Mm-hmm.
header container,
Yeah,
it's in the
yeah,
properties under settings. There's
yeah.
an is collapsible setting, and you can
Oh,
set this as yes or no. Or if you want
okay.
it to be based on your portal settings. But if you just simply set it to yes, then you'll have the little collapsible arrow so that you can show and hide whatever's underneath.
Maybe the
So
second one I
most
saw
likely the second
differently.
one is marked as no or as your portal settings or something. And so
Uh-huh.
that's why it's not. But that's all you have
Okay.
to do. Check that, and now you can easily collapse and show and hide anything that you place inside your header. So whatever you need,
All
I can
right.
easily hide and show those things.
Great. Let me check it right now while you answer others. You can go ahead,
Okay.
move to the next one. I'm just listen on the
Yep.
lunch.
I will do
Thank
that.
you.
If you have another
Thank you
question, just
so very
post
much.
and we'll get to it. You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right. Robin got a couple questions for us, so we can go to those next. Um, your first question, I might need you to explain a little bit more. Can I link a case from an associated task form?
So similar to the way that you link, hi, similar to the way you link in an email to a case that's been submitted to the original form. We have tasks that are created as like approvals,
Hmm.
and within that form of approval, since we already have that case associated, is there a way that we could build a URL that would make it where they could click on that URL to open up the associated the related form that has been submitted in the past? Very similar to the way that you can click and open it from the flow. Also, another way that you can do it in decisions, how you can click on. I'm trying to get there so I can look at it and actually explain. Like whenever you open it up in the record, whenever you see the workflow, you can
Hmm.
say there's a button there where you can actually review the form that was submitted, like read only. Is there a way that you can do that from a form that is a task that's related to an initial form? Does that make sense?
I might be, maybe I'm not
Okay,
quite
so like,
understanding the read-only way that you could
oh,
view a
you don't have
form.
to do it. Yeah, it would be read only, but Let me see. I haven't so far deep in here. Let me just. So I can use the appropriate language so maybe it makes more sense. So I wanted the data structures, and I'm opening up the little arrow thing where you can see the case. And so from a case, this isn't really where I need to. When you open up a case, let's do that. Opening a case. And so we have our case activity, and from within that case activity, you can see there's a button there. We can see view completed form within that case activity. I would like to have a case, the completed form viewable from the original completed form that the task is associated with. So say in my situation, we have a person that is requesting registration, and then the person that follows that's approving, they are going to be approving or denying that registration, but I wanted to put a link on that form so they're able to open it up directly from that form, directly from the approval form in a new window.
Okay. Let me just I was making a quick case entity just so I can open up the same thing that you're talking
Cool.
about.
I appreciate it.
Sure. So farther back, where do you look?
It will just prevent them from having to go back and forth and have that in front of, they'll be able to open it up easily. User
Yes.
experience.
Okay, so you're talking about from in this view, right? That's what you're
What?
referring to?
No, I'm referring to in a form. Once the task form is, so we have our original submission, which is our original case that's submitted. And after
Uh-huh.
that, we have tasks that are assigned to approver A. Approver A will go into their form that's an approval form. And
Okay.
within that approval form, I would like to have a hyperlink that would open up the
It would open
original
up
case.
this.
Well, sort of. It'll open up the. Can I do like a screenshot? Like, let me see.
You mean like okay, wait, I think so you're saying more like you have a user filled out a form, and then that form got saved as a case entity. And then later on another person gets to like approve or deny something related to that.
Mhm.
And you want to reopen that form?
Well, it's not really open. It's just it's the same functionality whenever you have within a case activity. You have a view completed form. When you open it, it opens up a read-only version. Like you can see it in the same structure as the way that it's originally submitted.
Got it.
So I just want like a read-only view of the form that was submitted, just so that they can review it while they are approving.
Okay. I think I'm understanding now. Trying to think.
So I was thinking you would just use like what I did, my original was to open URL hyperlink button, and but I did not see and then I did like a data name case ID, the PSM case ID, but that does not open up the URL that I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm. Right. I don't know what exactly the URL is of those, or if there is one.
Yeah, because I can open it up within an email. I have the structure for that. I guess I'll have it in my copy. Like, it'll let me. So I would use a pill, to be able to, within an email, to build that URL. It's like /. question mark, folder ID equals
Mm-hmm.
ampersand, page, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Gregory, sorry to call you out. Do you know of where that would be or what to grab for that?
I'm thinking on it right now because the view action on a completed form is the default one that will show when that assignment is in the completed state within the database. So it's not hard to put an assignment in that state, but the tricky part is what is that action that's generated by default? Where does that come from?
Yeah.
I'm thinking this is more of an action and less of an URL.
Right. I tried to use, I looked to see if there was any sort of run flow type thing for the forms, but I didn't see it. So
Let me think. Well, it could be done. We've got to format this a little bit better, but we could be done if we had an advanced data grid filtered by the old assignment ID. Then it would provide the actions that are available when you right click on it, including view the old assignment, or you can make the default for the left click. So it can be done, but can we make it look prettier? That's the question.
yes, pretty is good.
Something that would be necessary in order for this to work if we're going this route is we have to save that previous assignment ID somewhere so that we can fetch with it. We have to associate that either in the data structure for your particular case or somewhere else attached to it. How do we do this in a better way?
I don't know if this is optimal. I'm thinking of something more different. So this form is it's a form that already exists in decisions for you, right? You're just trying to kind of create a copy or display a copy of it almost.
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
You might be able to even just do something like this. Um, a sub dialog button is just like a nice, pretty little button on a form. And if you uncheck legacy and you build, it's just a flow that you could attach to it. You could fetch the case entity and then just display that form here. You could even make like a copy of that form and make everything not editable so that it's just there. But you could still display a form like that. So it wouldn't quite be the same as what you're talking about of like pulling up that specific like advanced or whatever that like form is necessarily. But like if this is my form, I could just pull this up and then fetch my data from the whatever the correct case entity is, depending on the the current uh assignment is referring to that specific case entity or whatever, and then just pass the data from that fetch that you got into this form. And then this form could just have everything in it be not editable, since it's just purely for display. And you can, so then a user wouldn't be able to actually change these things. Behavior, like not initially editable. So then whatever data is passed in here, they won't change, and it won't even be like functioning in that they submit this or save a new entity, because it's just displaying that form to the user when they click
Right.
on this sub dialog button. And so then from there, that's all it is. It displays it, they open it. If they close the button and they go back to the assignment, they can click it again. It just opens the form again for them. It's just visual. It's like a way that you can have a form appear within a form. And so then in that case, it's just one little button does the pop up for you. They could see the data, close it. It's not like a URL relink or anything like that. It's just a simple another flow that you just map data into your form.
Right. I think I like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
You get the option of, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, I was just saying it then becomes significantly less complex of trying to figure out what was how that worked exactly and what the URL is, because you can just simply map everything. The only complexity there is just making sure that you fetch the right case entity before the form.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Mhm.
I had the, you,
Okay.
if you have any other
Yep.
questions,
You have the next question, so we'll
yeah.
go to that as well. So you said when the form has been saved, what's the best way for the user to retrieve the form to edit? Yeah. So you're talking about like just any regular form in like a flow once it's done. How do you go back to it essentially?
Yes, they're wanting to save a form, and I'm pretty sure this is something that happens regularly with decisions. But they want to save the form and be able to come back and edit at a later date.
Okay. So yeah, usually that's going to be some kind of action that you build into the form itself. So
Mhm.
like if I just run this form normally, like the way that it's built with whatever this stuff is, as soon as I fill out whatever like details I want in it, or whatever, and I hit submit, it's just going to end and that form is done. But usually if you want to provide like users the ability to do something like saving it for later or something, then you probably want some kind of action, either a separate action like a save for later regular button here.
Yeah, I have that. I'm just wondering exactly, I guess, how do you populate have the form repopulate whenever they come back to edit? How do
So,
you get that form? I get that,
yep.
but then you have, um, then you put in the show form, but then do you just fill in everything that it had? Like you just like map the fields? Is that what you do?
Yeah, so you would send this somewhere that either you could have it part of the same flow. It depends on how much is later. But most likely you'll save this into some database, and maybe it's a database that you're regularly clearing out so this stuff doesn't fill up too much. But you'll
Mm-hmm.
probably put this into like a save step. I'll just grab one just
Right.
for mapping purposes. But you'll save this, save it into a database somewhere or wherever that may be that's beneficial to you. Um, and then when they're ready to like open this form up again, then you would have to fetch the entity that you saved and then remap it into here.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that
like
makes
maybe they
sense.
saved like 5 out of the 10 fields. Those 5 fields are getting saved here. The other 5 are blank or null. And then you just simply fetch that entity, pass it into the form again, and then those 5 fields will be filled out as what they had before, and then the other 5 will be blank, so then they can continue filling it out.
Perfect. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that was exactly how I should do it. Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
I believe that's the most common way that people will complete that if they're doing that process. Okay. All right. We got a couple questions from Joe, so we'll move on to that. Simple request. How do you load a data repeater from a SQL table? I know how to use the advanced data grid, but I can't figure out how to do the same thing with a data repeater and then how to cycle through each entry. The data repeater form. Actually make. Okay. So big thing about the data repeater is to have a data repeater, the data repeater needs to be associated with a data type of some kind.
Right.
And from there, it just kind of depends on what that data type is. Um, if you have your like tables that you could pull from because you've created
Mhm.
them, you can just make that type match directly to the tables. If I just grab this as my example, because that's the only data type or data structure I can grab from at the moment. But if I place this data repeater in a form, that data repeater. Data repeater. Throw in an add button. Move button. Like goes up quick. And then just a button so I get rid of that error. There. Okay, so then what this does is you'll have like the actual like items themselves, and when I place this in a form or in a flow, the key thing right here is now the inputs on the form itself will have inputs for the entire list of items that you want to get into your data repeater. So in my case, it's a list of that case entity that I had made earlier. But then from there, I can build that out, whether that's coming from, however I got that list. But if that's a list of the items that are already in your table as a list of that thing in the correct data type, you should simply be able to just take that list from a fetch or a get, if you have your
Right, query before, yeah.
yeah. Obviously, I won't have it because this is a fresh install of decisions on my instance. But you grab your items from your it's not that it's integration and database stuff. But like wherever that is, obviously I don't have it in here. But if I did, and I grabbed the get from the tables that I had in my database stuff or whatever, that's going to output a list of that type. So then I would simply just be able to pass that in, and as long as everything in your data repeater is mapped accordingly, to take in the specific items, which you get when you place your items in your data repeater. So like if I drag a text box here, for like the strings and stuff, right? This item has to be associated with something on that data type. That's why
Yeah.
it's throwing an error because it doesn't match. But then if
Yeah.
I needed to set it, then I could, and then make sure that everything is matched up. As long as it's matched up, then it should map those things when you pass them into the form for you.
Okay, I noticed in the training, there's not something with data repeaters in there. There's training things that you first go through when you first start decisions. And is there anything that there is something that would show the training on how to do exactly? I mean, I see what you're doing. You're basically going into this point, I don't know what they call it, but this is the area where you select the fields. And then you tell it the data source that you need, which is basically one of those types that you create, let's say from a query. And let's say there's 3 fields in the query, there'd be 3 fields up here. And then you pick each field and you relate it to the fields of the query. That part I got. The part that I didn't get was when you want to load that data repeater, like in an in an advanced data grid, you'd run a query, then you'd set a control, and it would push the query into that data advanced data grid control, and then it would show up as long as your fields are equal, it would show up as a list. I got this part, I just couldn't get the part where you actually have the query and you pass it into the form and it loads the data repeater. That's the part that I didn't understand.
Got it. So we did actually, I know it's been a little while since you went through the training, but actually, if you remember the I9 application project, we did use data repeaters because we had to use that. And it was a similar case where we were pre-populating everything onto the form with the data repeaters because in our case, it was from a CSV that had the data, but it was the same thing. You still had to set the data repeater up to get the first name, last name, email fields in here that we were able to pass the data into. So we had all of these values. So if you go to your learn.decisions.com and open up that, you can rewatch this video and it should highlight that and talk about how we got that working to get all of the fields set up ready and pass in everything.
I'll definitely do that. I think I had another question in here.
Yes. Yep. You have a second question. Your second question is, can you run an active form flow from a sub dialog flow?
So I have an active form flow that says load grid, right?
Hmm.
And then I stuck a button on the form, which is a sub dialog button, which creates a flow. And in that flow, it does A, B, C, D, and E. And one thing I'd like it to do would be load the grid when I'm done. But I seem to not be able to reference the active form flow from within a sub dialog button.
So yes, so you wouldn't be able to maybe directly access that active form flow, but you could access the logic of that active form flow and just redo that here. There's a
Well, that's
couple
what I
ways you
did.
can
I
do
had
that.
to copy everything. I made a template, copied it from the load grid and stuck it in my sub dialog flow. And I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this because, I mean, while the template is nice and it doesn't, keeps everything intact, it just seemed like you should be able to reference the load grid function that I wrote as an active form flow inside of a flow that's inside the form.
Yes, actually, that's not gonna be easy. So the trick here is there's a couple things you can kind of consider in this. Whenever you create an active form flow, it creates a hidden entity. And so if you want to access or find your hidden entities, if you go to your folder view, click on the three dots up here in the corner, you can change this to display all of your hidden items. And you'll see a list of all of your hidden entities, including things like active form flows that you've already built. So I can actually see that the active form flow that I built earlier, with the advanced data grid hide and show thing that I was talking about, as well as my the sub dialog flow that I built. So these are actual flows that you could find that exist in your instance to actually grab things. They're technically already in a flow. So if you're in your form and like in your sub dialog, I know you might want to say, I think I called that advanced grid. Um, flow, right? If I search for it because it's hidden, I won't be able to find this. So there's a couple options that you could have. You could either one, change that value and make it not hidden anymore. Um, Unless I'm forgetting something, I believe the only way to do that is in the query editor. Um, because these are still items in the element registration that they're flows that exist, they're just hidden from view. I don't think you can right click and just make it not hidden. I believe you'd have to change it in the query editor. Yeah. So what you could open up the query editor and then just write a query that would change. It's a field on all element registration items in the query editor. Obviously, you want to be careful with things like this, but like if you do select from element registration, that's element underscore registration. That's all your flows, rules, all of those things are element registration. Obviously, add your where clause and stuff like that to make sure you're getting the exact item that you want. And there is a field on this that I'm pretty sure it's just called hidden. Maybe it is
Yep.
hidden, but
So
from there,
by default,
there it
they're
is.
hidden, but if you change it here,
Yep.
it'll be exposed, but then, so if you change that one that you were working with, it was like a load grid or something that
Mhm.
was a flow. If you find that and change the hidden to false, you're telling me from a sub
Then
dialog button in a flow that you can access that?
Yep, because once they change it to false, it is now going to appear in this list. So in the normal view, I will see that flow appearing in this folder. It will just appear as if it was a normal thing that I built in here, and you should still be able to access it in other things. So if you do go and you change something to make sure that it's not hidden, you should see it. It should be searchable, all that kind of stuff, so that you
Can
can find
you
those
just
things.
change that one that you did? I think it was false, if I remember.
No, it was the other one it's true. If I switch to that in this hidden view, it's true, and that's why it's hidden is
So if you
marked
were to
true.
change that, if you were to change that to false,
Yep, it'll just
inside
appear
the
in
sub dialog,
everything.
you're saying inside the sub dialog button,
It would
you
work.
should be able to reference that.
Yes, it would work exactly the same as any old flow, any flow that I build in decisions and how I could find it in the toolbox and search for it. I could do the
Mhm.
same thing there. I could find it and search for it and utilize it.
Okay, so that's the step that you need in order to, because
Yes.
I didn't want to copy the whole entire load
Yep.
grid thing into some other place and it's just duplicate, you know?
Right. And there's a second option as well that you could do, which is let's pretend this is the logic inside your active form flow. If you highlight two steps in decisions, you can create a subflow off of those. And so
Yeah,
you
I
can
did
also
that.
just
I did
create a
that, but then when
subflow.
I did that, but then when I used it, a lot of the, I guess, parameters maybe weren't linking up or something similar to that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I did try to make the subflow, and that creates a flow. And
Yeah.
then you can reference that flow in the sub dialog button of another form. And
Yep.
then I was having issues with that because I'm not sure why. I think it was like certain properties on the right side, couldn't get the values. I'd have to start putting like inputs to the form in order to get the values across to that flow. I don't know if that makes
Got it.
sense, but
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
But at least if I
Yeah.
unhide that, it
Yep.
seems like I'll be able to reference that. Now, is
Yes.
that something that you could just prove to me really quick, or are we out of time? I just want to see if you unhide that by editing the query. You went into query editor.
Oh, let me actually get the name of that because I don't know what it, or the ID. Oh, of course, I spell it wrong. Component registration ID.
Where component registration ID equals, right.
Make sure I correct that.
So that's the one now you would update, right?
Yes.
Update element registration, where component ID is set equal to, set hidden equal to true or false.
All right. What's this last part of this? Because I'm not as familiar with SQL.
Update element where component registration equals that, set hidden equal to false. I don't know if it's a 0 or a 1, but it could be
Yeah.
false.
It's just true and false, I believe.
Oh, put the set hidden equals to false before the where. There you go.
There we go.
So now hidden should be false.
Hidden.
Set hidden to false.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
It should be. You ran the select before the update,
Yeah,
so the
that's
select
why I
is
was checking. There it is. Okay, so it does exist. There's it now. This flow in my list as a
And
regular
go
flow.
into your form.
So if I go into my sub dialog again, now in my sub dialog, if I search advanced, there's my advanced data grid subflow.
Gotcha. I got
which
you.
is
Oh,
the
that
same
makes
as that active form
easy.
flow that I built earlier.
All right, that works.
Yep.
Beautiful. Thank you.
No problem. All right. All right, we got one last thing. Coming back to Patty. You should still be able to talk, Patty, but
Yes.
question is actually not collapsible is the collapsibility is not what you're talking about. You're talking about the sizing of the header container.
Yeah, I tried. I realized that's not really what I needed.
Okay. So you're saying like that, so I have my header container and
Right.
then you're trying to, what are you trying to do with the size of it then?
Size, so I have two header container, one of each other on the top, like the stack, right? And not I didn't use stack. I used separate header container. The first one, it has, when I click on it, it has the up and down arrow in the middle. I can, not that one.
Oh, different thing.
Not that one. Yeah, it's in
Oh,
the
you mean
middle.
like these
Yeah,
buttons to
I
expand
can.
it?
Yeah,
Got it.
in my version, I can expand it.
Yes. Yeah.
But on the second one, I don't have that option. But it's all header container I created. So
Got it.
I want to change the size of the second one.
I see. Okay, so in the older versions,
Uh-huh.
that arrow would appear if there
Yeah,
was an empty space next to
right,
it that you could
right,
expand it to. So
right.
if there's an empty space in the grid, like right now, there's no empty space above this because I have my sub dialog button, it wouldn't let me expand it upward because there's no space. But it would let me expand it downward because there's empty spaces down here. So then I could expand the size of my header. So if you're just trying to get the sizing right to expand to different places, you just need to adjust your grid to make sure that you have space or shift your header to a different location. Like maybe even just shift it like one grid space down. And now you'll have an empty space above you. So then you should be able to expand it upwards to get into that spot.
Mm. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I did look at this one here when I have a space. The second one is available. However, yeah, I just the second one I want to let me expand now. It seems like the space is fixed, even though the first one, the second one rely on the first one. When I make more space, the second one has the one can expand, but I want to shrink the second one.
Is your header container inside the other header container?
No, it's not. It's a
It's definitely not.
two separate sections. In the
Okay.
form, I have
Right.
two sections. Again, the second one, I'm not able to do, packet. Right now it's too wide of each row. Yeah, I can, if I make more space from the first one, I can expand, no problem. But I want the second one, like shrink, have less space here. No, it's
Okay.
not. I tried.
Yeah, so it's
working.
so the space that it's going to cover is just going to be completely dependent on the grid or whatever layout that it's in and the space that that layout has. So
Uh-huh.
in this case, right, this container, I have it shrunk enough that it's going to fit just in one of these little sections. So that's the only space it has. If I expand it out to fit another element of the grid, now this is going to be locked into that length and it's going to fit that many spaces. So that's really all you need to do is just make sure that the grid itself has the exact amount of like space that you want for that header container to be in so that it can fill up. You can put other things inside that header. You can also have your header container inside like a stack or something and have it slide in place. And from there you can I think you can increase the size to fit if you have it inside like a stack or something. But it's always just completely dependent on the container that it's sitting in, and whatever the size of that particular container is. So it's trying to fit into like each of the the grid spaces to fit in. So it's really just going to be probably playing around with those grid spaces, getting those grid columns and rows to be the size that you're looking for. And then once they are in the size that you're looking for, then maybe your headers will match more with what you're looking for. In trying to get those
Okay.
adjusted.
It's not a very user friendly, to be honest. I'm going to play with it. Okay.
Yeah, I think it might take a little bit of practice. If you're
Yeah.
having some trouble, then maybe trying to get on a call with someone that can actually look at you, like from support or something, and look
Right.
with you to see it might be a little bit easier to see exactly
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you're
yeah.
seeing and see what's the problem there.
Understand.
And trying to get
Understand.
more further into.
Okay. Great.
All
Thanks
right.
very much.
Yep, no problem.
Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, that was all the questions I had, and we are right up against our time limit for the day. So thank you all for joining. Thank you for those that asked questions, those that assisted, and my team over here, as well as all of those that have joined and listened in. We appreciate all of you coming. Thank you for the week. We will continue next week with our usual lunch and learns. But in the meantime, I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend, and we will see everybody next time. Bye, everyone.